I hope everyone is comfortable in their chairs, on their beds, eating their favorite snacks, because I'm about to get started. And if you can tell from the intro, I'm going to be talking about the question of all questions. Is Marvel really ruining the film industry, as some veterans have been saying? And I'm just going to start out by saying this title is a little clickbaity because while the focus has been on Marvel, the problem is Disney as a whole. And since the focus has been on Marvel, I'll be switching between treating it as its own separate thing and then also comparing it with Disney. And it'll make more sense as I start talking. So let me just get into it. I'm going to be talking about three separate aspects, whether Marvel or Disney has ruined cinema in terms of one, going to the movies, two, in terms of originality, and three, in terms of taking up space in the movies or just capitalism as a whole. The first one, in terms of going to the movies, I will say that Marvel has ruined it a little bit, but there are also other factors. I do think that Marvel's good for its own movies because people try to avoid spoilers, so they go to the theaters early and they pack the theaters because they don't want to read about it on Twitter. And then it encourages the spectator phenomenon catharsis, which is basically what theaters are built to create. It's the reason why every time something amazing happens in a Marvel movie, the entire crowd gets excited for it, and then it's an entire experience. However, it's bad for other movies because they are quite literally bullying theaters and studios into severing their contracts for Marvel. And while I will talk about that later, I will also say that one thing to kind of counterpoint that it is entirely because of Marvel or Disney is because there is still the problem with theaters feeling the need to capitalize with their exuberant prices as well as for like tickets and food, because a movie theater only takes about 50% of revenue from tickets, but they keep like 80% from concessions. So theaters depend on audiences spending so much for food and drinks, and if you have a big family and you all want to go enjoy the theaters, that's kind of almost impossible unless you want to spend, I don't even know, like $75, $100 per movie, which is just ridiculous. So while Marvel has done some, it is not the reason as a whole as to why people don't go to the movies all the time. In terms of originality, there are a lot of original movies and original ideas. So I really don't think that Marvel is completely ruining things in terms of originality. Because not everyone is relying on comic books and hype from constant continuations and foreshadowing of past and future plot events to sell formulas. Not everyone's doing that for their movies. And where there's an interest in that, then you have Marvels. When there isn't, then you have other things. The issue, though, is with the imbalance of their opportunities compared to Disney, which is a monopolizing corporation that is now becoming, in my opinion, even though I love Disney and Marvel, it's becoming so samey in their animation style, plot complexes, and depiction of antagonists that people I see are barely laughing at jokes anymore, barely shocked by plot points, stop talking about them and their impact altogether at some point, which most don't really have a lot of impact, which is why people forget about them almost immediately. And lastly, in terms of taking up space in movies, as I mentioned earlier, it pushes smaller mid-range movies out of the theaters by threatening to remove their movies out of theaters, which you know that most theaters need, not in big quantities, but still need to stay afloat. And Quentin Tarantino actually said something about it recently, not recently, he said about it a while ago, but it was resurfacing recently, so that's why I'm saying it. And yeah, I just think that those are really all there is to say about how like Marvel has ruined certain things about the movies and the movie industry in theaters and then also hasn't. So I really think it is kind of a 50-50. Okay, maybe like a 70-30, 60-40. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's also something to say about how defensive people get also when it's pointed out that Disney is not just your little childhood classics anymore. It's really strange how people's outrage may have something to do with their preferences, obviously. But aside from that, like the things that I'm saying, at least here, they're all based on sources that will be in the description. A lot of this stuff is based in fact and it's based in things that people are telling us about. So the childhood brand that people still think Disney is a completely separate corporate thing. And I just think that there's also something to say about how people are willing to discredit the experiences and talent of some of the people also within the industry when they talk about Disney to defend it. To me, I'm a fan of Marvel, but I'm not disingenuous enough to completely discredit what at least 10 directors and producers with different upbringings in this industry and levels of success are all saying about Disney if it's all the same thing. Like that, to me, they just can't all be wrong. That's just crazy. So I just think it's not pretentious to point out that Disney is a very obvious monopoly when Marvel movies are getting more stale and formulaic, and animated movies have the same concept and designs for the most part. Live action movies have become lackluster as all get out, although I do have faith in The Little Mermaid. And they also have Star Wars, which, like as a concept, it's arguably one of the only aspects of Disney that is kind of successfully changing the way they distribute with TV shows, but again, that has no impact really on movie theaters. So, I mean, who cares? So, I don't know. This video is just a method of just saying stuff. I don't exactly know how to fix it. I don't know what to do. This is just me talking and giving my take. This is more just acknowledging the problem and acknowledging that it is a problem, and it's kind of quite clear if you really care to look at it for what it is and not just biasly look through the scope of, but I'm a Marvel fan. Like, so what? Yeah, thank you for spending time here. Hopefully you understood what I was trying to say. Hopefully you are inspired to, I don't know, tell me in the comments how you feel about what I just said. Tell me if you agree, all that fun stuff. I release content whenever, and I hope your day or night is amazing. So, bye!